are the people of Mercury. I am your interplanetary host, Travis Montgomery. These views reflect one planet and one planet alone.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mercury's Cast. I'm your host, Travis Montgomery. I'm back with Matt Nagy. Matt, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, sir. Thank you for asking.
We also have a special guest, Matthew Vitale. Is that how you would pronounce it?
Yeah, that's actually one of the first people to get it as I pronounce it the first time. So way to go.
Right on. I have a little experience with names, not much. But we're glad to have you. Taking your time out of your night to come and join us and have a conversation. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Was it as hot in Riverside today than it was in the rest of Southern California, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'd say so. It was like at least 100 or so.
And I was working outdoors, so if I look a little red. We were working in Torrance, California, doing a job for PepsiCo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, talk about politics. You can't have any Coke products on that premises. They throw it away, and they say, if you need something, we'll give it to you. You need water?
That's funny.
That's
good.
All right, so Matt's here to join us from the way I found you, I would talk to you anyways. We really would talk with anyone on this show because of a viral video where someone stole his hat, and then there was a little confrontation in UCR, right? The university?
Right.
Riverside?
California Riverside, right.
Okay, what are you studying over there?
Economics.
Economics, nice. And you are a part of a Republican group? Yeah,
I'm the external vice chair of the College Republicans at UCR. I'm also the deputy Southern Region vice chair for the California College Republicans. So that's basically the statewide organization that governs the College Republicans chapters, throughout the state at each university.
Cool. Right on. I wish I would have gotten involved with something like that when I was your age, but when I was your age, I was kind of busy not doing anything productive.
Yeah, no, it really is a great organization. First thing I can say is, just if you're on a college campus, find your local CR group, and they are chances are they're great people, and you'll get plugged in to do some great activism. Cool.
We need people that aren't falling victim to the university culture.
Oh yeah.
That are free thinkers. But before we dive into all that, I want to ask both of you: have you guys seen the trailer for the new Star Wars movie? Because it just blew me away. I don't know if anyone's into that or not, but I wait for this thing to come down. Now, there's nothing I'm excited more about this year than to wait. We already bought our tickets.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen the trailer for it, but it's definitely something I want to see. I don't think I've seen the trailer for it though.
Oh man,
I've already decided. Yeah, I've already decided that I'm going to be going, and I'm not a big fan of Star Wars anymore, so I'm going to stand apart from you guys on this one. And I've already decided that with a group of friends and myself, we're going to be going and we're going to be doing critique in the movie. We're going to point out every social justice warrior bit that they had to put into the movie, just to have our own fun.
Good project.
Right on. Well, they don't give too much away, but and he seems to be scared about the power that the young woman possesses. We get to see Snoke a little bit. It looks like Finn gets captured by the what are they called? I don't know. Obviously, I'm not that into it. I forget what they're called. Anyways, the trailer's out. It's on my Facebook if anyone wants to go look at it. I think it gave me goosebumps. I'm probably more of a fan than my lack of knowledge of the names of them would indicate, but my son loved the Rogue One movie and the one before that.
Oh yeah, those are both good movies.
So that's out for anyone that wants to go check it out.
Cool.
Okay. Anyways, so first of all, Can we just rewind to the beginning of the story? Like, where were you at when this woman took your hat off your head?
Yeah, sure. So I was at the they call it the Student Organization Leadership Retreat. Basically, it's a thing that UCR puts on every year, and what it entails is it's a 6-hour or so day where they talk about how to file your budget, how to apply for insurance for any sort of on-campus events, things like that, as to the bureaucratic things that you need to do for your organization.
This was like the most apolitical meeting that the student body could have if you're in leadership.
Supposedly. A lot of things on this campus are apolitical, but let's be honest, that's not how things actually are.
Yeah, I agree.
So, so you're sitting there. Were you sitting, or did she come up from behind you, or how did this thievery take place?
Yeah, so it was in between speakers. They had this sort of icebreaker where you had to go walk around the room and talk to people, see who had the same birth month as you. Kind of whatever, but you had to do it. And I needed water anyway. So I got up, I was walking around the room, and everything was fine at first. In fact, I made it through the activity fine, and I was about to go get my water. And I was walking towards where the table where the water was when it happened, and she came up and just took the hat off my head. At first, I thought it was a joke. I thought I knew her somehow, and that she was gonna walk a few steps and then turn around and be like, "Ha ha, here you go, here's your hat." But no,
But she was dead serious.
Yeah,
she was on a mission.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting to say the least.
She walks out of the room, or?
Yeah, she walked out of the room. I was following her at that point, and I caught up to her as she got out of. So to give you some context, the room that we were in was on the 3rd floor of the student union building. So she got out of the like office space or the room that we were in, and got onto the landing of the stairs. And that's when the stairs to come down to the 2nd floor and the 1st floor. That's where I caught up to her, was on that landing, and then the whole thing ensued.
It's kind of like what did she think was gonna? I don't know if she thought this through, but she's gonna march up and everyone's just gonna start taking her side, and let's burn the hat. Like, I don't know what she thought the ultimate outcome of this was gonna be.
Yeah, I honestly, it's kind of misguided, but I think she thought I was gonna be punished for it for some reason, but I don't know why, of all of the places that she possibly could have gone, she went to the student life office. They literally do nothing. At least with regards to something like this, they would literally be able to do nothing. But she fully expected me to be punished from whatever. She wanted me to be punished.
She just doesn't get it. I mean, I guess she just doesn't get how freedom of speech works. And I think that you did a very good job of exercising your freedom of speech and being calm. I did see that you tried to a couple times, but you didn't want to take it. You don't want it to turn into a wrestling match. Yeah,
precisely. By that point, I had already, when we first got out onto the landing before I was recording, I did try to take the hat back, because I was just. That whole time, during that whole incident, my main objective was just to get my hat back. So if I had gotten my hat before she got to student life or before I started recording, it wouldn't have been a story. I wouldn't have really made a big deal about it, other than maybe just, posting something on Facebook. But, excuse me, basically, I tried to get my hat back at first, and she was adamant about not giving it back. So there was one point as I was following her down the stairs where I was telling her, give me my hat back. And she actually looked at me in the face and she's like, what the F are you going to do? Are you going to kill me? And at that point I was like, okay, all right. Like I'm done. I'm not going to keep going with this. I'm just going to follow you. I'm going to see where you go. And it occurred to me at that point that I should probably film this, because I fully expected not to get my hat back. I thought that it was going to be deprived of me 100%.
First off, she totally broke the NAP, and she was in the wrong. You could have just used a recreational nuke right there.
Yeah, it's insane. You know, the tolerance applies to one side and one side only. And I mean, we know.
All right, guys.
Only. Yes, absolutely. So I have a question. Like, have there been any other negative interactions there for you wearing your MAGA hat?
Well, actually, rather interestingly enough, the day after this happened was the first day of school. So this happened on a Wednesday. That Thursday, the day after, was the first day of school, and we had decided to table for college Republicans. And I was wearing my hat and standing at the table, and some other guy that I had never seen and known before came up to me and took my hat off of my head and threw it in the bushes. Wow. Yeah, and that happened again. You know, I was told, F your freedom of speech. You know, your freedom of speech is killing people. You know, all of the same things that Ms. Macias told me. But yeah, I mean, there was that. We did another event we called MAGA Monday. That was last Monday, where we basically, you know, we set up our table, we wore our Make America Great Again hats and our Trump T-shirts and all of that stuff. And again, just as an exercise of free speech. And I was shown.
Yeah, it's good. I can imagine the reactions.
Yeah, no, it went remarkably well physically. You know, people flipped us off, people took pictures of us, people ridiculed us, but that's perfectly within their rights as well. I was, after the fact, shown some tweets that were pretty threatening. You know, people talking about wanting to come up to us and slap us in the face, things like that. So, I mean, it's definitely, things are hardening on campus. It used to be pretty mild. You know, I would wear it. This wasn't the first time that I wore that hat to campus. I'd worn it at least 3 or 4 times before, and I'd get the occasional look, the occasional stare, but nothing like this.
And so I can imagine that UCI. Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, Travis, you go ahead.
Well, I can imagine that UCR, it wouldn't be someone as bad as like a Berkeley.
No, of course not. It's by no means is this Berkeley. You know, this is definitely not.
Say it again, Travis.
Riots breaking out, things like that. But it's definitely, it's gotten worse, you know, relative to what it used to be. But no, it's definitely nothing like Berkeley. Not yet, at least.
And so, would you say that you have a pretty solid group of people, and because stuff's real these days, you got to, you know, you might actually be in some danger in some of these areas wearing that hat, and I'd say you got a set of balls on you for even doing that. Now, would you say that you are a Trump supporter, and how long have you been a Nazi?
Well, that's an interesting question. No, I am definitely a Trump supporter. You know, I wouldn't say 100%, maybe 95%, but I do support the president, you know, as much as I can, you know, while still maintaining my core conservative principles. I don't think, you know, it's kind of funny. You know, people actually do genuinely believe that Trump supporters are the equivalent of Nazis. It's just beyond me. You should, you know, when you look
I'm actually going to ask you that. How long have you actually been a Nazi for?
Well, to anybody that is viewing this video with the intention to dox me, I am not a Nazi and I have never been a Nazi. So I'll just put that out. But no, I think he was, to full disclosure, Trump was actually my third choice in the election. I started out as a Rubio supporter. Once Rubio dropped out, I moved over to Cruz, and then I voted for Cruz in the primary in California. And then once Cruz dropped out, I went to Trump. It was never so much that I disliked Trump as much as I favored the positions of Rubio and Cruz a little bit better, specifically on foreign policy. I think they were a lot stronger. And that was and is still a big thing for me. I think President Trump, he made good on his promise to surround himself with the best people. And so it's definitely comforting to me that he's got people like General Kelly, people like General Mattis around him to advise him. I think he's done a great job so far. He definitely wasn't my first choice, but I think if I knew about him now, what I did then, he would have been my first choice.
Well, that's encouraging. I would like to say then, I had one of the questions I was thinking about earlier. Was there anything that you wish you'd actually do better now, having this last year to look upon?
What do you mean specifically?
Well, is there anything that you wish that he would have taken another choice on? Like,
the president. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about me. And I was like, I'm not sure. The president. I think. Excuse me. To be honest, I think maybe the only thing that I would have liked to see him take a stronger position on is the riots in Charlottesville. And that's not actually, I'm not going to go with this where you might think I'm going to be going with this. I actually would have liked to see him take a stronger stance in saying that both sides had violence. I was very firmly in the camp that believed that he has very little to no responsibility for the people that claim his name. If Barack Obama has no responsibility for the Black Lives Matter movement, then Donald Trump has no responsibility for the neo-Nazi movement. You have no control over who follows you and over who really uses your actions or words as a rallying point. So I think, if anything, I would have liked to see him take a stronger stance and say, look, there was violence on both sides, because there were. When you look at that protest specifically, that protest, that the peaceful part of the protest, granted, it devolved into a violent protest very quickly, but the peaceful part of that protest was specifically about freedom of speech, specifically about protecting that Robert E. Lee statue and the name of that park. So I think, if anything, excuse me, I would have liked to see him take a stronger position saying both sides were in the wrong here, and not making that second statement.
I will ask a bit of a more complicated question specifically about that. Sure. When he did come out and say that there's, the alt-left, he made alt-left a thing. He specifically called them out for that. I actually did support him when he actually said that, because as you said, the entire event was supposed to be peaceful. Yes, guys showed up with shields and helmets and were prepared to literally do battle. I'm not going to deny that. Yeah. But the fact is that you've seen, just as well as everybody else has, all of the protests that became violent in front of Trump rallies, where men were assaulted, women were accosted. It's incredible to see that kind of vitriol being spread across so many different states. It is a huge problem. Absolutely. And for me, I had friends that actually went to that rally, and they're not neo-Nazis. And they can tell you flat out that they were corralled into Antifa. They were corralled into those rampaging morons. And they actually saw these things happen in front of them, where the cops were walking past them. And I'm still somebody that supports law and order. But the fact is that they saw the cops laughing at my friends. And it's not a good situation where Charlottesville, which is a leftist camp, that's a leftist stronghold, where they actually walked right into the lion's den. And yes, they were pepper sprayed. There were balloons thrown with piss and dye and what other concoctions may have been in those balloons. And they had to literally get through that situation. There that were avowed National Socialists? Yes, there was. There actually were there. But for everybody that actually saw that swastika flag, nobody knew that guy. Literally nobody knew that guy. And there was nobody that doxed that guy. So everybody else that came there, that just showed up the night before, had their pictures taken, the entire left this witch hunt to find all of these young men, to have them kicked out of schools, fired from their jobs, loss of family. Literally, family were disavowing them. Like, their own brothers and sisters and parents were disavowing their own family, their own blood. And it's incredible to see that reaction. But then you see the two people, three if you count the one guy that actually showed up in a hood and cloak for a KKK member. He wasn't doxxed. The guy with the Nazi flag wasn't doxxed. And then you saw the most recent Gainesville, not rally, but the speeches there by Richard Spencer, the Nazi guy that was there that got hugged in the middle and punched and then subsequently hugged. He hasn't been doxxed. Nobody knows who that guy is. How is it that all these people that become so public are not identified? It's incredible that we can find all this information out about guys who literally say, we don't want to be replaced. But for some odd reason, we can't find the people that supposedly are Nazis. This just, it smacks of plants. It smacks of people that are trying to discredit anybody going out there to talk about their own problems, their own interests. It's not healthy in any way, shape, or form. So I guess for you, what do you think? Why do you think there is an agenda to discredit independent thinkers as bigots or supremacists?
Well, I think part of it is because of, well, when you look at the left, there really is a hive mind for the most part. They are,
yes.
The modern progressive left really is
that you probably didn't
simply collectivism. Collectivism played out on a mass role, and the sad part of that is that in America there was no such thing as thought crime. At least there was supposed to be no such thing as thought crime. And
I agree.
People can disagree and call ideologies like neo-Nazism, white supremacism, and black supremacism even. You can call those morally repugnant while still affirming their right to believe that. Because the moment that you start infringing on those rights is the moment that you start infringing on the rights of everybody. And I do very, very strongly think that is the plan. That is the plan of the modern progressive left, at least. The establishment Democrats, who knows? But the Bernie Sanders types, the Elizabeth Warren types, the Antifa types really do want to create a state where it's just collectivism. Everybody thinks the same thing. And the way that you do that is first by infringing upon the rights of the controversial, because everybody can get, or at least most everybody who doesn't think through the issue can get behind restricting the rights of the KKK or restricting the rights of the neo-Nazis. But once you get that foot in the door, that's when they start to restrict the rights of mainstream conservatives and of moderates, and it goes from there. So I do think that's why.
Okay. So my question then is, I mean, we're probably pretty clear that it's communism at this point that's just parading around as something called the left, and that they're really just trying to destroy any semblance of our culture, right? Our culture is free speech. It's about independent thinking. It's about respecting individual rights. But the thing is that they don't want that. They don't want that culture. They don't want anybody's culture. They just want for them, like whatever it may be, the cult of the broken, I guess would be another name for them. Like they're just broken people. It's sad to see what they are, but the thing is, a lot of them, you see them show up to rallies. These people are, I'm not going to call them physically repugnant, but the fact is they're not exactly going to win any modeling contest. But even worse than that, they're also not really the smartest people in the world either. They're not thinking through, just like you said, they're not thinking through the logic of what they're doing. They are useful idiots, as was coined the term a little while ago, right? About communist agitators. They are the bourgeois class that, they're trying to supposedly fight against. They don't understand what they're doing. But the thing is, they're still doing it because they're told that if they do this, they can feel good about fighting us. And what are they really fighting against? They're fighting against guys that, like you said, there's literally straw men being created out of people that are paid to show up, like the guy that's the KKK member. Even if he's real, like you said, we still have to fight for his right to be able to at least speak his mind, even if his opinion isn't right. But the thing is that there has to at least be a point at which we agree that it's not necessarily collectivist, because we are individuals in a collection who are agreeing that, yes, free speech is a good thing. Yes, freedom to bear arms is a good thing. We are individuals that are saying that, and they think that we are a collection. They don't think of us as individuals. They think of us as this big monstrosity of a monster that we are going to crush them if we are in power. But it's a mess. So I guess for me, when I looked at Charlottesville, I saw it being used as a cudgel to bash anybody who wasn't, let's put it that way. Everybody there that showed up that was already being bashed for years as Nazis, they didn't really care if they actually were called Nazis. They already are as far right as they can go. But for everybody that's still center of the far left and far right, it's kind of pushing everybody further off. And I think you've probably seen that too. Maybe within your own organization, you've probably seen members that are starting to say things that are not necessarily more fascistic, but they're just starting to think about things in a sterner way. Like, hey, you know what? We do need to protect our freedom of speech. And at this point, it seems like we may actually have to pick up arms to protect that freedom of speech once more. It's kind of crazy that it's going to get to that, but look at what our founders had to go through.
Well, yeah, and I think you see that with the rise of popular figures like Kyle Chapman. People know him as Base Stick Man. People like that, their whole shtick is that, pun not intended, is to I just realized that. Anyway, their whole idea is that they are protecting freedom of speech, and you can again debate as to whether or not violence is the way to go with that. But there's a pushback now by a lot of people in the right that are frustrated that the left has dominated the conversation for so long, and not even dominated by creating dialogue, dominated by suppressing dialogue, and people are starting to fight back.
So
and they use catchwords. I'm sorry, Travis, I interrupted you. What were you going to say, Travis?
So Matt, Nagy, I'll call you Matt, and then Matthew Vitale, you'll be Matthew. So Matt, I thought it was interesting what you said about that, because that group of people is called the Proud Boys. Everyone knows who they are now, and Sean King got his army together, and they doxed all those guys. They found them on Twitter. They found their Facebooks. They knew that because they were part of these groups. And then you hear rumors about George Soros paying these actors to come there, and nobody knew who that Nazi guy was, or else. I mean, if anyone should have been doxxed, it should have been that guy that had the swastika, and also the recent one that got punched, where I posted the video with the black dude hanging out with the guy with the swastika shirts on. Yeah. And you'd think, I mean, his face is clear as day there, that if he was a part of any of these groups, that he would have been doxxed too. And nobody knows who these guys were. And not only that, in Charlottesville, the police were told to stand down. Yeah. So
it's the fact that they and what's even worse is that the media, we all three of us see it. Everybody that's going to be listening to this knows it, that the mainstream media is no longer looking out for the interest of truth. If they were looking out for the interest of truth, they wouldn't be putting out such a heavy-handed message every single minute of the day. And they absolutely buried anybody that went there, that wanted to talk about real issues and just wanted to respect the freedom of speech, no matter who showed up. That was one of the greatest demonstrations of freedom of speech ever conceived in the modern century. We should have respected everything about that, but it wasn't. Why was it? It's because we have this political correctness that's telling us that if you think a certain way, or if you look over to the far right, or if you're looking like that, you just want information. Independent thinkers are now told that they're wrong.
Yeah, this is absolutely honestly incredible. You look at the front page of CNN's website, I can't tell what's hard news and what's editorial anymore, because the headlines all read the same way.
It's not journalism anymore. Journalism is supposed to be, not biased, but that has completely disappeared. There is no such thing as real journalism in America anymore.
I would say this is probably the closest thing that we can actually say is journalism. Us actually sharing opinions and actually talking about the facts that we know about. This is journalism, Travis. I'll say that right out. And journalism, as it was supposed to be, was literally recording facts and reporting it to people that didn't have access to those facts. And we don't longer have journalism. We have propaganda in the worst sense, because now it's being controlled by people that don't want people to have their own culture. We have people that they don't want us to have our own feelings about things that are going on. They want us to just think the way they do, and if we don't, we're the bad guys. And they'll call us names like white supremacists, they'll call us bigots, racists, Nazis. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The Proud Boys were literally one of the most welcoming groups on the right, and it doesn't matter. Look at what happened to them. I mean, I have friends that were in there that got to watch the absolute destruction of their group. It was disgusting. It was sad. But the thing is that they were the ones that, no, we're not Nazis. Listen to Gavin every time he talks about supposed Nazis. Well, no, we're not Nazis. We are anti-Nazi. Did it help him? No, it didn't help him. He should have just ignored it.
Yeah, and it's just so clear. The moment you start to dialogue with them on their terms, you lose completely.
Yes, absolutely. As soon as you dialogue on their terms, it's not about it's kind of crazy. I will agree with you that there's no point in the Nazis, right? There's no point in the caricature of the Nazis. Becoming a caricature of what your enemy hates is just validating what your enemy is doing. And so for anybody that goes out there and literally puts on a swastika armband now, anybody that carries out a swastika flag now, I don't care if they're just trying to be contrarian and then they've got a message after that. They're simply validating the enemy's position.
Yeah, and they do.
If they want, it's not fair. But what we have to do is we have to at least be sure enough in our positions that doesn't shake us, that doesn't scare us to be called these things, because for the last 3.5, 4 years now, I've been called Nazi and racist because I've simply said things as basic as I'd like to have a border wall. That's it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
simple things like that.
And I think there is a distinction to be made, between the incorrect branding that a lot of progressives like to engage in. That I think it's clear none of us here are Nazis. A lot of most Trump supporters aren't. Aren't literal Nazis. And then I think obviously there is still a place to say, sure, identity supremacy groups in general. It's not even just white supremacy, black supremacy of any group just on basis of your race is frankly idiotic. There is, I think there is a place for that, but at the same time, that dialogue can happen if freedom of speech is respected, and only if freedom of speech is respected. Because when you don't respect freedom of speech, you can't hear what these people have to say objectively. It is impossible for people in this country to have an objective dialogue anymore with somebody that they disagree with, even especially with somebody that they
should. Hey, Matthew, you should listen to our the last podcast that I was on, because we got to talk to a guy who's an ardent BLM follower, and it was just it was lots of fun. You'll see exactly why we can't have conversations with people that have a basis for their argument on anything other than the facts. If they don't have a basis in facts, then we can't have a conversation. It's about the truth. And if you're just going to fight for your own interests and you're just going to lie about what your interests are about. He said he wanted equality. He didn't want equality. Ask Travis.
All right. Well, I think this kind of ties back, the Charlottesville. It circles right back around to what we had with Miss Macias over here, when you wearing that hat is an exercise of your free speech, but now it's come to the point where people argue, and I've gotten into these conversations where people think that words incite violence. So you don't get your freedom of speech anymore because words can incite violence, and that in itself is a violent act. I mean, where the hell how far is this going to go?
Well, yeah, and that argument in and of itself is rooted in a very complex and very interesting part of constitutional law, with words that directly incite violence and whether or not those are protected. That is still under debate right now. So, it's really ludicrous to say that just because somebody's words make, and really what their what that excuse is for a lot of people is a way for them to say and seem more legitimate in saying that your speech offends me, so shut up. That is really all it is meant when they say your words incite violence, so you can't say them. Really, what that means is that your words offend me, so shut up. And that's what we need to fight against, because there is no such thing in this country as being told to shut up. Yeah. This country wouldn't have been founded if we didn't have the freedom to speak, because all of the colonists that were engaging in the speech against the king would have been rounded up and killed, and we'd still be a British colony right now if it wasn't for freedom of speech.
Damn, really bring that heat.
It's true. It's absolutely true. There's nothing wrong with what you said there. I mean, I think for me, in my position when we're speaking about the left and the way that they think about this, I personally feel that they legitimately feel that they have an argument when they say that words are violence. They truly do believe, and I think maybe they might have something to it, because they think that it leads off into the future into something that could cause them pain or suffering. Because if you hear somebody say, "Hey, you to just sit on your butt and collect a free check," they think that that's pain and suffering that's going to happen. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, they are going to suffer a little bit, because they're going to have to actually work for their own livelihood. That's something that we all have to do, but they don't want that. They just want something comfortable. So if you go from something comfortable to something that's real, it's to them painful. So they really do feel that.
little bit frugal.
Hmm?
They is a complicated word to use.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're not people, I guess. But I'm just kidding. They are people. The people that I've met so far that are on the left, not so far.
Okay,
that's all.
Miss Macias, have you ran into her on campus at all?
In passing once, I think we were walking. It was actually
the awkward moment.
Literally nothing happened. She didn't recognize me, and I didn't even know I walked past her until one of my friends like tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey, that was her." And I was like, "What?" And I looked behind, I looked over my shoulder, and I was like, "Oh, all right." But
I mean,
yeah, no
other than disrespect.
Yeah,
actually, I don't really care. She doesn't seem like the smartest person because the arguments that she was making, like, you're promoting genocide. Like, how do you tie those two together? Well, I'm sorry. I got a pretty creative brain. And I don't see how you link wearing a MAGA hat to genocide and it's killing people out there. I'm going to hit the mute button.
Yeah, no, it's
if you want to take that one, Matthew, I've got an idea too.
Sure. Yeah. No. It's pretty. It takes some pretty creative logic, but it really is. She swallowed the same talking points that professors all over America really shoved down college students' throats. That America was never great. That freedom of speech is not really freedom of speech. That you get to tell somebody to shut up just because something offends you. That you don't. That there are more than two genders. All of the talking points that professors and administrators and leftist demagogues frankly shove down people's throats, she has accepted every single one of them without thought. And so many other college students have accepted those things just without thought and just on face value. It's really sad. And that's why we're here really on campus, is to provide that voice of reason and say, look, that isn't true and this is why. Now, we can do that if we can actually engage in dialogue, and every now and then we do. But a lot of people, again, are just the type of people that are gonna sit down, not listen to a word they say, and not listen to a word we say. And when we give them the floor, they'll shout us down. So definitely, it's an interesting balance.
For me, when we're trying to work through the logic of how they connect "Make America Great Again" to you're advocating genocide. It's kind of crazy to think about it, but where they're coming from, I mean, a lot of the points that they've brought up in my arguments that I've had with them is the fact that a white man's country, and that if you're looking to make America great again, it's just going to be a white man's country again. It sounds really offensive to us because we're trying to say, like, well, I mean, a lot of people that I've known are like, well, no, we can all be Americans. And the problem with it is that, like, unfortunately enough, they have a little bit of a better understanding of our history than even we do sometimes. We are looking forward to an egalitarian future where we get to say, hey, meritocracy, you do what you can to be the best person you can, and just do what you want to do as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. But for them, they're coming from the past, and they are more concerned that it's going to devolve back into group identity politics, which ultimately they've not only fulfilled that prophecy to a T, but the thing is that they have all of these different things in history to pull from. I mean, we have the 1790 Immigration Act that specifically said that America was just a country for free white people of good character, is I think what the actual terminology is. I mean, the Founding Fathers, they literally put that down. They have a lot of text that shows that they were intending this country to only be for white Europeans of good character. They put that down pretty clearly. Okay. So the left can pull from that. And what were you going to say, Travis?
Definitely want to jump in here. So the whole saying of "Make America Great Again," I don't know where that came from, and I thought it was
actually.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Reagan. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it won him the election, so good for him for using that term for whatever. Because in my eyes, I think that we live in the best country in the world, the most the times have never been greater to be alive. Things are so convenient and easy for us to live. And going back to your conversation with Miss Macias in that office, just real quick, what kind of office was that? I mean, was it? It
was the student life office. So basically, it's the liaison between all of the student organizations on campus and the rest of the campus administration. They help with booking rooms, again, budgetary things, the bureaucracy,
safe spaces, and all that. Okay,
sure.
So here's the thing: is that there's so much America hating going on right now that people just despise this country. They hate the freaking president. And it's like, look, you could have been spawned in Syria. You could have wound up somewhere in the Democratic Congo. Like, and not to say that there's always work that can be done to make stuff better, but I mean, show a little bit of appreciation. Great, you have problems, but don't be like, I fucking hate this country. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you were gifted a golden goose. And now you just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but that also has to do with the political climate of the country today. And
absolutely, it's really sad. I've been around the world. I've been to other first world countries, and I've been to third world countries. And every time I come back, whether it's from a first world country or whether it's from a third world country, I love this country even more because it really truly is. And sure, there has been a lot of stuff in our history that is regrettable. But if the leftists want America to become so much like the rest of the world, well, one part of the rest of the world is that every other developed country has things in their past that they can be ashamed of. Every other developed country in this world has enslaved peoples from developing countries. Mm-hmm. Every other country in this world has engaged in systematic oppression of women. Every other country in this world has engaged in systematic racism. And frankly, America is one of the countries that led the world in the abolishment of those practices, led the world in the abolition of slavery, led the world in women's suffrage, led the world in the second civil rights fight. So, again, people like to point to all of these negative things in our history while ignoring how much we led the world to fix those problems. That again, we're not unique.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, we literally have been we've been the harbingers of literally the most enlightened country in the world when it comes to individual freedoms. I mean, we still have slavery in Africa right now, and nobody talks about that except for us on the right. We're on an equal playing field. We're the ones that actually want what's fair, and they're the ones that don't want what's fair. They want revenge. It's just jealousy.
Hey, bro,
that's realistically what it is.
The corporations got us enslaved, bro. What you talking about?
Usury is slavery. Usury is slavery. That's debt slavery. I'll admit that.
Consumption is slavery, and comments are cancer.
Capitalism is still the best. Still the best economic system, the only economic system.
I don't know, man. Communism's making a strong comeback right now.
It's terrible.
It may not be the best. It might be the new wave. And it's just crazy that people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they don't understand that they are representing communist points when they're actually doing it. And they don't know.
They don't understand. They want to talk about how many people fascism's killed, and obviously, I'm not defending fascism, but if you want to compare fascism and communism, let's compare 12, 13 million people killed, which obviously is not a small number, to over 100 million people killed at the hands of global communism.
Stalin starved his own country, and fucking North Korea starving his own country to try and build missiles. China was a fucking dirt hole, and up until recently, it still kind of is. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Well, and the reason that these what we call second world countries are developing at the pace that they're developing now is because they've embraced capitalism, and because they've embraced freedom. China and Russia and other places around the world that are former communist bloc countries that are now embracing capitalism are developing at that speed because they're enacting these capitalist policies that work, that have been proven to work.
Okay, yeah, because you're an economics major. Oh, great. So I've been seeing a lot more about we need to divide up all the wealth, and everyone can have $700,000. And also, we need to raise the minimum wage. Right now, drastically. Like what?
Well, I'll take both of those. I'll take both of those separately. Universal basic income is it's a primarily Nordic thing. You see it in a lot of the Nordic countries, in a couple of countries in Western Europe, I believe, as well, but it's mainly Nordic, and it removes incentive, plain and simple. The whole point of capitalism, the whole point of America, is that if you work hard, you can succeed, and it's going to be hard. The whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps narrative. It's true. It may be a little bit of an understatement as to a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to come to America and I'm going to work and I'm going to make it big. It takes a lot of work. So the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps narrative, it's alive and well in America, but people underestimate how much work it takes. What universal basic income does, ignoring the more technical economic aspects of it, at a basic level, what universal basic income does is it removes incentive. People no longer have the incentive to go and improve themselves because they're just going to get a check for enough to cover their living expenses every month, and they have no need to better themselves. It's not really much better than communism in its more perfect form. In the Marxist-Leninist idea of communism, where everybody is just sustained by the government, or rather socialist ideal where people are sustained by the government. It's the exact same thing. There is no incentive to better yourself.
I'm going to agree with you on any universal basic income being a disincentive to be productive. But I will say that before this refugee crisis, for the Nordic countries, for Europe at large, I would say that they probably had, even with all the socialist programs they had, yes, it led to these problems that they're now facing, but they were still very productive up until now. I would say that it involves a culture of hard work, thought of immediate gratification. I think that they were fine ultimately with working towards a goal anyways. I think it's just about the culture that they had. I don't think universal basic income can literally work for anybody at this point, but it could have worked in countries that had a strong basis in, say, like family traditions or a strong work ethic. But it's to the point where unless you've got yourself strong borders and you have that culture, you can't do it. You just flat out can't do universal basic income.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, culture does play a major role in it. I still, at the same time, though, even with the strongest culture in the world, I don't think that you can entirely get rid of the disincentive that universal basic income gives. But no, it definitely does.
Right.
Culture. If you have a culture of hard work and of dedication, that whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality, then sure, maybe there is a 1 or 2% chance that a universal basic income could work. But again,
yeah. Because it was almost not necessary. That's the thing. It was because it was not necessary. They would have succeeded in any other country with any other program.
Exactly. When the government uses universal basic income instead of as a safety net, as just, here is cash and it doesn't matter who you are, that's when it provides that disincentive. And you can talk about the minimum wage, really briefly. There have been study after study after study after study by this point that shows that raising the minimum wage, and it's basic economics that these people don't understand, that when you raise the price of an input, the quantity that you get of that output rather is less, and as a result, the price is higher. When you want to charge more for your labor, first of all, a lot of businesses are going to say you're not worth $15 an hour, so leave. And the unemployment rate rises. On top of that, you see youth employment skyrocket because the 16, 17, 18-year-olds that were meant for the minimum wage jobs, whose labor is not worth, $10 an hour, are definitely not going to get a job at $15 an hour. So you have, this incapability of people that are, my age and younger to get these minimum wage jobs and get work experience at all and market themselves because now they have to be paid so much. And that's why, I tell people that the optimal minimum wage, the minimum wage that should be in this country is $0. There should not be
yes.
because of the fact that the institution of a minimum wage necessarily requires unemployment to rise, because you have people like me and people that are even younger than me that were intended to take those minimum wage jobs whose labor is worth nowhere near $15 an hour, not even $10 an hour, because this is their first job and they have no idea what they're doing. So they might be able to get a job at $5 an hour, not supporting a family, not intended to support a family, but just to make some extra income on the side, learn work skills, and get experience to market themselves. And now they can't do that.
And to be fair, that sounds $5 or $6 an hour sounds harsh, but if that were a reality, most other things wouldn't cost that much. It drives down the market price of a lot.
No, absolutely. And on top of that, in conjunction with an abolition of the minimum wage, I think you really do need to support vocational training, because the fact is there are a lot of people that despite the fact that minimum wage jobs were not meant to support a family, for whatever reason people are trying to support families on minimum wage jobs. So I think for those people, what we need to do is you take them and you say, here is how to be a plumber. Learn how to be a plumber, learn how to be an electrician, learn how to be a carpenter, a tradesman of some sort. You will make more money and support your family. And then in the meantime, open those spots up. Those previously minimum wage spots are going to be opened up for youth, the people that were intended to take those jobs in the first place, so that they can go on with their lives and get higher paying jobs. That is my idea.
I will actually add an addendum to that as well, because you're absolutely right that there needs to be a $0 minimum wage. And in fact, there's many European countries that already today have no minimum wage or no universal basic income, like Switzerland or Denmark or Norway. And they have some welfare, but the thing is they don't have basic minimum wage or any of this bullshit. But what you're saying about like schooling and technical training, if there's a $0 minimum wage, we immediately go back to a system where people can come in there. If they have absolutely no skills, they can literally just sit there in the shop, sitting behind an expert or a master of the trade, and just watch them work and start to get skills and experience through working immediately. One of the things I've recommended for a very long time, ever since I got into manufacturing, was that I flat out said the hardest thing about having machining done today, I was a machinist in California, the hardest thing about getting machinists today is literally just getting them in the door. They need to have at least some training. And if they have to have some training, that means they have to go to some school or they have to be brought into the job. But because of the minimum wage, they have to produce something because the company will be taking a loss otherwise. So if they're saying $15 an hour for California, which is what Jerry Brown signed into law, I hate that guy. I'm so sorry. I don't say hate very often. I hate Brown. I really do. That guy is an idiot. Brown, let's put it that way. For me, though, the real fact is that if there was a $0 minimum wage, not only would schools, in my opinion, they would lose a lot of money, and that's why they're not advocating for $0 minimum wage, and that's why you get a lot of teachers that say, no, raise the minimum wage, because they know it secures their job. But you would have businesses that would say, hey, we'll pay you like $1 an hour. We'll pay you like $1 or $2 an hour to just sweep through the shop. And then when we have a new job coming up that we're going to have something that you could work on, you come and we're going to teach you how to do this so that the guy that already knows how to do this stuff can go do something more important.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And why can't we have that again? I don't understand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that is, and again, these people that their labor, wages in economics, wages are based on your productivity. So if your productivity is worth $2-3 an hour, that is how much you market yourself for, and that is how much that's how much the max that you'll get paid is $2 to $3 an hour until your productivity increases.
And there's sorry guys.
That's how the system in America is supposed to work. Of course, government regulation has gotten in the way of that, but the system in America is supposed to be capitalist based on your productivity. If you don't have $15 an hour to offer to a workplace, you're not going to get $15 an hour. And with a minimum wage in place,
and
that just
the left's argument against this is that it's because people need to be able to afford places to live. one of the reasons why places are harder to afford today is because of inflation. Let's be very honest about this. We have a central bank that is controlling the inflation rate. And because we're not able to go back to a system where we can actually save money, prices are going to keep going up. And it doesn't matter what hourly minimum wage you've got, it's going to have to keep going up if that inflation rate's going to go up.
Yeah. And that's another thing, again, when you increase the minimum wage, the prices of everything increases as a result, and even the price of labor that's higher up the line, because people that used to make $5 an hour minimum wage are now going to be making, they're not going to be making $5 an hour above minimum wage, so they're going to demand that their wages be increased as well, and it just goes up the chain.
Right. The basic argument that I've used for many people that I've ever used, we need to have a living wage, regardless of how stupid that sounds anyways, because a living wage is not, you can't standardize a living wage because everybody lives a different way. The difference is that whenever they advocate for a minimum wage, they say the things like that. But the fact is that they're just trying to make sure that whoever is actually wanting the minimum wage isn't the people at the bottom. They're not trying to help the people at the bottom. They're trying to help people that are already making more than minimum wage to keep their jobs. You see how unions are really involved with the minimum wage fight. Why would they be involved in the minimum wage fight when their own members for the union don't make minimum wage? So badly, desperately want to help make minimum wage. Why do they want to increase welfare? Why do they want to increase all these things? It's because it helps them. It doesn't help anybody else. It's an interest. They're fighting for their interests, and that's not fighting for the truth. They're just fighting for themselves, and it's not fair to the people that they're supposedly helping. They're just lying to them. Yeah. Guys, at this point, I despise colleges, and I commend you for actually making it through there, because I'd probably rip my hair out, and it'd be a bad scene, let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, it was an interesting encounter to put it mildly.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
if we are past these economic topics, I have a couple other questions. What's it been like having a viral video out on the internet? Because a lot of people won't ever experience that. And a two-parter. Your first video that you posted got over 1 million views, didn't it? And then Facebook took it down. Hello, censorship.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's definitely, my life kind of changed overnight. When I posted it, I thought it was just going to get a couple of views here and there. People were going to talk about it for a bit, and then it was going to die. And it obviously didn't. The day afterwards, I had reporters and interviews and all of these things. So my life has definitely changed. It's become a lot more hectic, a lot busier. At the same time, I now have a platform that I'm very thankful for, that I get to use to really talk about my thoughts. That I've had for a while now. So it is definitely, it's a double-edged sword. My life is pretty busy now, but it's a good busy. In response,
gives you options. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of that question?
You were on the Larry Elder show, huh? Were you?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to. What was that like? And that guy pisses a lot of people off, doesn't he?
Larry's great. He's a really great guy, and no, it was definitely a huge honor to be on his show. I met him at a talk radio event with a good friend of mine that is also a radio host on a local talk radio station. He took me to that, and Larry was speaking there, and I got introduced to him. Larry's a really great guy. He's super smart, and it was just a huge honor.
You were in studio with him?
No, it was. I called in. I wish I could have gone in studio, but I had class and work that day anyway, so I just called in. Even just being able to talk to him, that was a great experience.
Right on. What? I mean, just at a tech standpoint, what did you use your phone or Skype or what?
Yeah, no, it was just over the phone. I called in while I was on my lunch break, actually.
Okay, I will post a link to that in Mercury's Cast. Twitter or on Twitter and Facebook. Matt, do you have anything else that you would like to ask him? We're just over the hour mark right now.
No, I think that's everything. I actually do have to get going in a few minutes. So,
Okay.
No, I think that's everything. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Man, you know what? I just want to not only thank you for your time, but I wish I had your brain when I was that age, because I wasn't much into politics, but man, you were on fire tonight. You're just doing what you're doing. Someone like you needs their own podcast. If you need any help setting it up, I'd be glad to help you in all the ways. I've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're pretty good.
Yeah,
you're like the golden.
Yeah, keep it up, Matthew. Hey, stick to your studies. Make sure you get through it. We got to have good guys on our side when you actually get up there. Okay, so keep it up. Keep thinking. And don't let these guys bring you down. And keep your cool. Hey, just like you did, keep your cool.
Thank you.
You did good, man.
And for somewhere down the line, I'm gonna maybe you come back on again for some relevant topics.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to.
Okay, cool.
Great
having you, man. I appreciate it. Me
Awesome.
and Matt will close this out.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a great night, Matthew.
Thanks. You as well.
Right on, dude.
Cool. Yeah, he's a cool dude.
What the F? I mean, so young and so knowledgeable.
Oh yeah. No, that was great. He's actually got he's got a lot of really good points. He's got a lot of really good points. He's right on the right path for this. I mean, it's really good.
Well, he's talking like it's taken me 33 years, and it's taken him like 20, to come up with the same shit. But even
yeah.
Wow, it was impressive.
It's
maybe
good. Hey,
some hope for our youth. Because I'm still considered a millennial, but the Generation X is it just drives me up the goddamn wall right now.
I think with all the different generations, I think it's kind of interesting to see how we've gone from, like, say, the greatest generation for like World War II to the boomers to generation the hippies to Gen X, Gen Y, and not was it Gen Y and then Gen X and then
it was Generation X,
and then millennials,
and then Generation. I think there's
and now we got Z coming up, Generation Z. Yeah, and it's kind of incredible. They're saying that this is going to be the most conservative or right-leaning generation since the Greatest Generation.
I don't believe that.
And I'm really encouraged to believe that things will inherently get better, because this is at this point like there is this almost eugenic effect with the way that the left practiced their daily lives. They wanted so badly to have this egalitarian utopia where everybody was absolutely equal, and they were making women into men, they were making men into women, and they created a scenario where the family was totally broken. But at the far right, you had conservatives, and you had people that those leftists would have called fascists by themselves. They did have families. They had 5-6 children each, and they are creating the next generation of society that will actually save us, in my opinion. I think they really will save our people. They will actually make sure that we won't just devolve into this degenerate apocalypse.
Right. All right. Well, okay, so save, again, I'm going to cue on some of your words. Save is a little bit of a loose term. I think I just want a world where one group of people isn't all right. So it's like in the civil rights movement, there was definitely a group of people that were marginalized. And, before that, now I feel like the tables have turned and they've gone completely the other way. Then people are really asking for equality, but they're really asking for special treatment at this point. So I just like to get to a point where we're all really, really equal across the board on everything. We can all just agree on certain things and agree to disagree without the outrage and the people fucking marching in the streets and news being so biased on both sides.
Oh yeah.
Can we ever get back to a place of that?
I will say yes and no, and I will explain why. First off, there are two camps of thought. You either understand that nobody is equal, or you believe everybody is equal. Now, here's the ramifications of both. If you believe that everyone is equal, then everybody's the same, right? So can you say that everybody is the same? No, we're not all the same. We're different heights, we're different colors, we're different everything. Like literally, there's no two people that are the same, except of course they're twins, right? They have to be born from the same egg. Literally, they have to be twins or triplets, identical, to be the same person. And then even after they come out, they're still going to have their own ways of doing things that may just be slightly different. But the thing is that nobody is truly equal. We're all different. Some people are going to be faster than others. Some people are going to be smarter than others. And there's going to be people that are whatever other than others, right? It doesn't matter what it is.
Our boy, Matthew Vitale over here was way smarter than the chick in that video. There is no questioning that.
Oh, infinitely. Yeah. The guy absolutely is infinitely smarter. We can wholeheartedly say that. It doesn't matter what factors or anything else were there. He's just flat out smarter. He's more knowledgeable, and he's flat out smarter. So
genocide? That's genocide. There are people dying out there.
Oh man, when I heard that, it made me laugh so hard.
I would have probably damaged her wrist, and
yeah,
it wouldn't have been pretty. She would have.
I would probably not have been nice. I would say that I probably wouldn't have actually laid hands on her, because personally I know that if I'm on a university campus, there's going to be some pretty bad punishment for me if I do that, even if she's in the wrong. Because that's a lefty headquarters, dude. That's a lefty headquarters. They're going to take her side. So it's good he got it on video.
Oh, it would be a white guy with a MAGA hat attacked a minority.
Yep.
It would be exactly that.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yep. And he did the right thing. He stayed cool. Oh yeah, even in the heat of the moment, he knew exactly what he had to do, and that is innate intelligence right there. That's not something that you can just train for. That's not something you can practice.
So he went to a private school.
Yeah. I would have.
I'm willing to bet that he was like one of those Christian people that travel. What are they called?
Well-traveled, I guess. Worldly is, I think, the word you're looking for.
There's like not a missionary.
Oh yeah, that's probably a good point too. Yeah, because we didn't even ask him about like his religious views. We didn't ask him about any of the other ulterior stuff. Yeah. Man, we should have done that.
I can't wait to talk to him. I'm not going to bother him. We should probably close this up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I just figured talked a little bit about that, but otherwise, yeah.
I was super impressed with this kid.
Yeah. No, he was really cool. Anyways, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening. But like I said, we're not all the same, and the problem is that if you try to apply the same standard, some people are going to do better than others, and it's going to cause strife. It's going to be a problem. It's going to suck, and that's why we're seeing the BLM movement. That's why we're seeing La Raza. That's why we're seeing the alt-right. It's just inevitably going to happen if you try to apply the same standard to people. Some people are going to get jealous. Some people are going to have to defend themselves, and it's just how it is. And it's going to suck. And I want there to be happiness. I do, true happiness. But it's only going to come from people actualizing their own purpose in this world. It's not going to be from the government that gives them something. That's a lie.
Oh, that was a great talk. We're going to have.
It was good.
That was good. Yeah, we definitely needed a live recap after that one. So, all right.
Yep.
Coming up on the docket.
Cool. Awesome.
We're gonna eviscerate Hillary Clinton at some point.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I'm ready to do that. She's been screwing up real recently. I love the Harvey Weinstein thing that she's been having to answer for. That one news reporter in the interview. Oh, he destroyed her. It was awesome.
Well, awesome. And how far do you go? Because we do know pedophilia exists in entertainment and at the highest levels at some point, but is it Pizzagate? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Pizzagate for me, I was pretty well sold on. I was pretty well sold on Pizzagate simply because I know that there's messed up people in the upper echelon. I mean, they're not excused from being degenerates. Let's be realistic about that. And to get to where they are, most of them had to be cutthroat. So let's be realistic about that. They're willing to do a lot of messed up stuff, and I don't know what their practices are, what they like to do to burn off steam. But the thing is like,
get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. It'll be real good. We'll get into like the pedo wood stuff. We'll get into Pizzagate. I think that'd be kind of cool to see that.
You know what? I'm sure glad I brought my stuff down with me. There was a moment of like, you know, kind of on a little break here. Why not just?
Yeah, it worked out good. This is a good cast, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I brought everything down.
Yep. All right.
Right on, Matt. Well, you know, I'll be talking with you soon, and for everyone else. Yeah,
cool.
76.
See ya.
See ya.
Do you right?